Well, good morning. Oh, that was okay. Let's try that one more time. Good morning. All right, it is so good to see you this morning on this bright, sunshiny day. Excited to see the sun shining, but I'm also excited to see all of your smiling faces, and we're looking forward to a great day of worship. And so if you are here visiting with us this morning, we would love to know that you're here. And so inside the program that you received as you came in this morning, there's a little Connect card. We'd love to have you fill that out. Drop it in the offering plate a little bit later on in our service just to let us know that you're here, and we would love to send you just a small thank you gift for being our guest today. And if you're a regular attender, we'd love to have you fill that out as well. There's places for you to share new information or prayer requests. Our staff would love to have the opportunity to pray for you throughout this next week, and so if you'd fill that out, drop it in as well, we would be grateful. Well, we're looking forward to a great day today, so whether you're worshiping with us here in the room or you're worshiping with us online, we're so glad to have you be a part of our service today. Let's stand and worship the Lord together today.
All right, we need your help clapping on this first song.
Who breaks the power of sin and darkness? Whose love is mighty and so much stronger? The King of glory, the King above all kings. Who shakes the whole earth with holy thunder? Who leaves us breathless in awe and wonder? The King of glory, the King above all kings. This is amazing grace. This is unfailing love. That you would take my place. That you would bear my cross. You laid down your life, that I would be set free. Whoa, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me.
Who bring our chaos?
Who brings our chaos back into order? Who makes the orphan a son and daughter? The King of glory, the King of glory, who rules the nations with truth and justice, shines like the sun in all of its brilliance. The King of glory, the King above all kings. This is amazing grace. This is unfailing love. That you would take my place. That you would bear my cross. You laid down your life, that I would be set free. Whoa, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy, worthy, worthy. Oh, this is amazing grace. This is unfailing love. That you would take my place. That you would bear my cross. You laid down your life, that I would be set free. Oh, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. Would you give him the Lord a praise this morning? How great the chasm that lay between us, how high the mountain I could not climb. In desperation, I turned to heaven, spoken name into the night. Then through the darkness, your loving kindness tore through the shadows of my soul. The work is finished, the end is written. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Who could imagine so great a mercy? What heart could fathom such boundless grace? The God of ages stepped down from glory to wear my sin and bear my shame. The cross has spoken, I am forgiven. The King of Kings calls me his own. Beautiful Savior, I'm yours forever. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Hallelujah, praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah, death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Hallelujah, praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah, death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name. Jesus Christ, my living Then came the morning that sealed the promise. Your very body began to breathe. Out of the silence, the roaring lion declared the grave has no claim on me. Then came the morning that sealed the promise. Your buried body began to breathe. Out of the silence, the roaring lion declared God, we are overwhelmed by your presence in this place. God, we thank you for being a living hope. You didn't stay in the grave, God. You overcame it. You overcame our sin and you overcame death, God, and we are so grateful for that. Lord, one day every tribe and every tongue and every nation is going to proclaim your name. And we'll be part of that, Lord. So as we continue in worship, would you be in every aspect of it? Would you let every word that we sing lie dear to your heart, God? We are here to worship you this morning. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only, God. Great are you, Lord. You give life,
God, we're so thankful that you give us breath in our lungs to praise you through everything, God. Your love is something that we don't deserve, but yet you still give it freely. Lord, we're here for you this morning, and we worship you. Be in every aspect of our service. We pray this all in your precious name. Amen.
Good morning, Portland First. You may have a seat. I will be your worship host this morning, along with my wife, for those of you who don't know us. And before we do our announcements this morning, I just want to invite the ushers up. And as they're coming up, I would like to open in prayer. So let's bow our heads. God, thank you so much for joining us here this morning. In your word, you remind us that as we gather in your name, you join us. As we take our offering this morning, let it be a personal offering to you with that in mind. Amen.
We are very excited today because it is election day here at PDX First, and so that means that we are going to be voting on our new board members. So after service, if you are a member and you are 15 years of age and older, then you can go out in the hallway, and underneath the Pray for PDX sign, you can vote.
Secondly, we do have the food bank repack, and that's happening on March 23rd. You can sign up in the lobby out here after service. If you haven't done this before, it is a blast. And then third, we have the Springtime Spectacular for the ladies. That conference is going to be April 5th through the 6th. You may also sign up for this in the lobby. And while I cannot personally attend or attest to this one being a blast, I do know that the ladies that are putting it on for you are amazing, and it will be great.
Lastly, we are starting off our new sermon series next week, A Reason to Believe, and Pastor Brandon will be preaching that message. So we are very excited, and we hope to see you then.
And we have a video.
Oh yeah, we have a video. Starting now.
Well, good morning. I'm looking forward to this series. I'm excited about what we have planned for our Easter journey together. If you're visiting today, my name is Rob Gosen. I'm the Next Gen pastor here at Portland First, and we're wrapping up our By the Numbers series today. And before we do that, there's a couple things that I want to just quickly share with you. The first is this: it's time for our annual envelope drive again. Every year, rather than bombard you with lots of fundraisers throughout the year, we try and do everything in one hit. And what we do is we put in a board of envelopes out there, and each envelope is a dollar amount. All you do is you take that one that you want or the ones that you want, you put inside each envelope the money that it says, you drop it in the offering plate, and what happens is it goes to help our children, our teens, and our young adults in spiritually challenging, equipping, and leadership development events. It keeps the costs down. It allows us to send them to things. Last year, we sent every kid to camp at a fraction of the cost of what camp, the actual value or the cost of camp was. For every child in our department, they all went to camp. For our teens, you've helped send them to camp. You are helping send them to NYC this summer as I share off my lovely new water bottle from NYC 2019 in Phoenix, Arizona. I know that Phoenix, Arizona in July is not the ideal place to go, but it's going to be fun and hot. They went 24 years ago. In 1995, it was set a record for 122 degrees on the single day. They were frying eggs on the sidewalk, and you're helping send our students there next summer. And so I'm really excited about that. But this is what your envelope drive money does. It helps us go to events like this. The cost for Phoenix is going to be $1,600. My goal is that every student only has to pay $4. And that we finance and we take care of and fundraise the $1,200. And we do that because of the envelope drive. You've also sent young adults to leadership development events. You've helped them get involved and equipped to lead in our church. And I just want to say thank you for that. And so over the next several weeks in the lobby, you will see the rolling whiteboard with a number of envelopes on them. I would love for you to take the envelope that you feel that you can give and that you would drop that in the offering plate over the next couple of weeks. I realize some can give more and others can't give as much, but here's the great thing about the envelope drive. Regardless of what you give, it all has the same impact. You can give $1 or you can give $200, and it goes into the same place, and you have the exact same impact regardless of what you're able to give. And it makes a difference in the lives of our children, our teens, and our young adults. And so I'm excited about what we're doing. Here's another great tidbit or information about NYC. They were worried because they were going to Phoenix that they were only going to get maybe 6,000 people. That was the height of what Louisville was 4 years ago. And then they had construction at 3 of the major hotels that we're staying at and lost 450 rooms. Registration for Phoenix is at 8,100 Nazarene teens and adults descending on the city of Phoenix, which is one of the biggest ones they've had in decades, and it's because people like you in a church like this believe in sending. We're sending 8 students from here plus myself, and it's going to be an incredible time. But 8,100 Nazarene teens and leaders are descending on the city of Phoenix, and they will not be the same because of it, neither the students or the city. And so I'm excited. The second thing is this. There's so much that I want to share with you this morning. I simply do not have the time. I can make this message into 5 messages easily, and that's just coming out of one book that I resourced. There is so much information when it comes to this, helping equip parents to be the spiritual leaders of their homes. And so I don't have the time, but I promise you this, I will take every minute I have today and still feel like I'm rushing through. I apologize for my voice. I've been fighting a head cold all week that then settled into a chest cold, and so my voice is pretty much shot. But I will do everything I can to convey how important this is, because this is one of those messages that I am radically passionate about as your next-gen pastor. And my goal is not just to lead students, but to help equip parents. And so it's important to me that we talk about this in a way that as a church we can come alongside our parents and maximize the 1 hour a week that we often get, and help our parents in their role as they lead their students. You know, we have a funny relationship with time. Take for this morning example, it's daylight saving time, and we lost an hour of sleep. Well, except for Arizona and Hawaii. And we may not think it's a big deal, and you may have opinions about daylight saving time, and you may question why we do it still and all of this. I can tell you that the parents of every young child in the U.S. will have to deal with the havoc and the benefits of losing an hour of sleep last night for the rest of this next week. But we have this interesting relationship with time because we all know that we get the same amount of time. It doesn't matter if you're the rich and powerful or the poor and destitute. Everyone gets 24 hours. No one gets more and it's less. You have 24 hours in a day. And we'll do all we can to save time, but really we're not saving time. We're just spending our time in a better way. And the difference between those who are the most productive and those who are least productive is simply how they spend or use their time. And we don't lose time. We just simply didn't spend it well. But time is important. Again, ask any parent tomorrow morning when their child does not want to get up for school how important that one single hour was that they missed Saturday night. Even if they went to bed early, that 1 hour still will play havoc with young children across the U.S. Last week, Pastor Brandon did a great job of setting us up and explaining for us the importance of how much time the church has in its average impact on the life of a student or a child. And he showed the gumballs, and there was a much larger vase on stage with roughly a third of the time that parents have, because we couldn't get a vase big enough or have the money to spend on 3,000 gumballs. And so you heard that number, 3,040. 40 hours is what the average church, the best church, not just average in what they're able to do, but the best church is the average is 40 hours is all they have to impact the life of a child in a year. And yet, parents have 3,000, and we can look at that number and it can feel overwhelming. And so what I want to do today is I want to break it down a little bit easier to where we understand that time really does matter. So let's make it smaller. In this vase, there are 168 gumballs, 167 orange, and 1 blue. This represents the average week in the life of a child in our church. There are 168 hours in the week. That's how many hours you spend this next week. That's how many hours we each get to spend in a week. 167 is what the average person or the average person in this church has versus the 1 hour that they will spend in church, specifically when it comes to children. And when we start thinking about it, roughly a third of this is what we're going to spend sleeping. Then another 25% or so is what we'll spend at school or work, which brings us to the point of having 72 hours or 42% of our week to do other things with. Now, if the church gets one of that, that leaves 71 orange ball hours for the parent to have impact in the life of their student. Now, I realize that parents think, I don't have that kind of time with my child. And you probably don't. And if you take the 3,000 hours that the average parent has to spend with their child, that works out to about 8 hours a day. And you might be saying, well, I don't spend 8 hours a day with my child. But really, you do. You spend closer to that than you realize. A national study done by the Department of Human Health Services found that the average teenager spends roughly 3 hours every day per week with their family. And on the weekends, spend almost 6 hours a day with their family. They spend more time with their family during the week and weekends than they do with their friends. Now, that takes out the school aspect, but when they start spending all their extra time, they spend more time with their family than they do with their friends. You have the greatest amount of leverage and impact in the life of your child. And then you start looking at the fact that the iGen, or this Generation Z, is the most family-connected generation to have ever walked the earth. And they are the most connected and most concerned about what their parents think. Even though you may not realize it or think it, Generation Z or iGen are more concerned about what their parents think than what their friends think. And so they are more connected and spending more and more time with their families than they are their friends. Even when they're spending time with their friends, they're typically with their families. Like they go to the mall. And instead of saying, Mom, Dad, just drop me off the front door and I'll see you in 2 hours, it's the whole family goes to the mall, and friend and child might walk ahead or stay a little behind, but Mom and Dad are still there because they want their family with them. Time matters. And the amount of time that you have to spend with your child, it's vital that you do everything you can to have the maximum impact possible. But in order to do that, we need to evaluate how we approach our family life. I think there are 2 key ways that we approach our family life. You can argue with me and say, well, Rob, I can think of different ways to approach, but I think it all boils down to one of 2 views. And the first view is like this. We have this mental image of what the family should look like, our family and other families. And in our mental image, our mental model that we carry with us, it's been informed by either our past, by media or parent books that we read, maybe by the ideal family that we saw when our family was a wreck. But we've all carried this mental model of what the ideal family is supposed to be. And we refer to it in this as the stock family. This is what the ideal mom and dad look like. This is what the ideal kids look like. It's this perfect setting on a perfect day in a perfect photograph. And I know this is true because if you walk down the aisle of any frame store in any Fred Meyer or Target, you're going to see this perfect stock family in every single frame. You're just going to see it. It's the mom and dad right there. The problem, though, with this stock family photo is that you don't see the bird that's dive-bombing dad. You don't see the fight that brother and sister just had, and that little extra blush that's in mom's face has come from her losing her own temper, trying to calm her kids down. But you don't see that in the stock photo because it's been photoshopped, and it's been cropped, and it's been cut out to make sure that none of the problems show up. But this is often the mental model that we carry around in our heads for our own families and other families as well. And the problem with this, though, is that it calls us into our effectiveness as parents when things don't look like the stock photo. This model is called holding up a better picture. Holding up a better picture, saying, well, this is what our family looks like. This is what our family is supposed to look like. And the problem with this is that it discounts anything about reality. It cuts down any kind of problems that we really have. It doesn't take into the account that there are issues that every single family has, but we do everything we can to live up to this better picture. This past summer, Amy and I were in Maine for her family reunion. It's one of Amy's favorite locations on the planet, York Beach, Maine. And I surprised her last Christmas with family photos being taken because we have a former student who lives in New Hampshire who's a professional photographer. So she drove over and took photos of us in York at some of Amy's favorite locations. It was perfect, or so I say. What I love about what Allie did as she took the photos was we were trying to get the perfect family photo, and we got it, but she kept shooting in the process. And we saw all that it took to get our son to sit still and smile correctly, and our daughter to stop twirling her hair and talking and giggling. And the process to get the one perfect photo took forever. And we have hundreds of shots. And I was so glad that Allie took those pictures because it tells me that the perfect family photo doesn't exist. Because there's always an issue. But when we do everything we can to hold up a bigger or a better picture, we rob ourselves from the ability to lean into a bigger story. And that's the second model, telling a bigger story. We can either hold up a better picture or we can start telling a bigger story. And what I mean by that is recognizing that we all have brokenness and we all have mess and we all have these issues. But God is telling a bigger story in our lives as He writes a story of redemption and renewal. He's telling a bigger story in our families because He's inviting us into something that's bigger than just a perfect photo. I think God is far more concerned with using broken people to bring about a story of restoration than He is telling a better picture to the world. Because His bigger story eclipses a better picture. There's less stress on us because we don't have to have it all together. There's greater freedom to be real and live into the fact that we are broken and messy people, and we come from broken and messy families, and God takes those broken and messy families and He writes this story of redemption and renewal and restoration that is better than anything that Hollywood could ever put out. And He invites us into that. So it doesn't matter what you're trying to do, you're falling into one of two approaches to family life. You're either trying to hold up a better picture